What is suspicious to own but not illegal?
I lost the key to my crawlspace's padlock once and went to the hardware store to buy bolt cutters so I could replace it. I told the cashier why I was buying them, without being asked, and he was like, "It's funny, everyone that buys bolt cutters feels like they need to tell me why they are buying them. I think they just want me to know they aren't about to do something illegal." I got pulled over late at night, and when the cop shined his light into the cargo area of my station wagon, the most visible objects were a shovel, rope, gloves, and the giant tarp-wrapped bundle of yard refuse I was bringing to the town compost in the morning. Surely there was at least one roll of duct tape or Gorilla Tape back there. At least he had a sense of humor about it when he strolled up to my window. So we're off to bury the body under the cover of night. When I was much younger, a friend and I were driving around some back roads at night. Nothing nefarious, just being 20-year-olds listening to music and laughing at dumb shit. We ended up in some neighborhood that I was unfamiliar with and turned around to leave. I worked for a local computer company and typically had 2 to 3 large computers in various states of disrepair in my back seat. Cop pulls me over for absolutely no reason that he could articulate, shines a flashlight into my car and sees an entire seat full of computer parts. Informs me that he was there because there had been multiple break-ins recently where people had stolen electronics. It took a good 15 minutes of my dumb 20-year-old brain stuttering at him to convince him that I was clearly too stupid and too unprepared to have represented a threat. My dad has a real human skeleton with a skull in a suitcase under the stairs. Turns out you could buy one back in the day for medical studies. Also turns out disposing of a real human skeleton legally with no paperwork is incredibly difficult. So I guess the skeleton in the closet will be a family heirloom. Lockpicks. They're seen as thieves' tools, but lockpicking isn't uncommon for a hobby. Have a friend who picked up the lockpick after one of his renters lost their keys and he couldn't find the backup set. Had to call a locksmith, and since they live over 15 miles out of town, it was a hell of a fee. Plus, it's not a bad idea to have a kit for getting into cars sitting around with some cars auto-locking doors. They aren't supposed to do it when the key is in the car, but apparently if you let a 2012 Chevy Avalanche sit for a week, it will still lock itself, with the only set of keys in the car. The same friend found that one out the hard way. Again, locksmith is expensive that far out of town. For me, it was just water. My neighbors had well water and would dry up. They asked if they could run a hose and put it in there, well, they would pay what was owed. Did this a lot last summer, no big deal, they paid. Then they bought a big above-ground pool, filled it for them, they always paid. My part was always around the same, so I wasn't bent out of shape. One day the water meter guy knocked with an officer wanting to know why I was using so much water. I explained, showed the many hoses to reach my neighbors, and they were there to help explain. They explained to me that much water usage was throwing a red flag, so they were sent out to investigate to make sure no Mary Jane growing was happening. Same can happen with electricity. Long time back I was propagating corals, used high-power metal halide lamps and water pumps that took a lot of electric. Also, you could see the glow from the UV lighting and MH units from the end of the road. I never did get a knock on my door, but I always expected it. Firearm suppressors, aka silencers. Just as legal to own as a pistol, same legal standards for ownership eligibility, with the caveat of some additional paperwork and a 200 tax. Used in almost no crimes at all, fully legal, fun as crap to shoot and easy on the ears, but tell someone outside of the community you own one, and they think you are an assassin wannabe. I had all my baby teeth saved in a little container at one point, as an adult. Just never threw them away. I got rid of them when I watched the season of Dexter, where there is a serial killer who kept a collection of his victims' teeth, and it made me think, yeah, this could look weird. A coffin. My senior year of college, I was a resident assistant in an area that had townhouses. One of the townhouses was known to be trouble, and were all in the film program. I went to bat for them over a few things and turned what had been an adversarial relationship with their previous RA into a very positive one. They had to build their own props as part of a script they had to shoot, one of which was a coffin, which really turned out amazing. At the end of the year, as a thank you, they gifted me the coffin. Turned out it was super handy during moving since I could throw clothes in it and other things. Tons of room in there. The coffin went through 2 apartments where I always got weird looks moving it in, and then new friends and family were always taken aback because I used it like a coffee table in the living room. Eventually, the missus made the decision that its presence was weirder than we wanted to be conveying when living in suburbia, so it's relegated to a Halloween decoration. I was getting ready to put some tarp over an awning we have in the backyard. I had tarp, sisal rope, a knife, and duct tape laid out ready to take outside. My wife looks at it, chuckles a bit, and says, "What are you doing?" I said, "Don't ever ask me about my business." I carry several baggies of plaster of Paris under my truck seat. I use them for making plaster casts of animal tracks. I've been asked about them once when they were sitting out. I always tell students, carry enough plaster of Paris to get law enforcement suspicious.